Welcome to this special video on behalf of Shorts Accountants. I'm Rob Brown, host of the Accounting Influencers podcast. I'm thrilled to be telling some of the success stories and the great things that Shorts Accountants are doing to differentiate themselves, serve their clients in very key markets. I'm thrilled to have with me today two special guests, Howard Freeman, Andy Irvine. You are the Audit Partners at Shorts, and we're going to be talking today about audit. Let's just kick off by getting a little bit of context, gentlemen. Howard, why is audit so important?
So audit is an important part of the work we do. Lots of our clients require an audit by the regulations. So it's one of the, I guess, bread and butter pieces of work that any firm of chartered accountants would do. And it's important to us because actually, as well as doing the work, it means we get to know our clients really well. And that's the key thing about working at Shorts. We take time and pride in understanding our clients' business. And doing an audit actually helps us do that really well.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Andy, isn't it? We're going to go on to the impact of the changes in audit in just a moment. But just to set this context, it is the staple offering. It's a mandated service. It's required by law. It's the very thing accountants are very, very good at. It's super technical. It requires great expertise, but there's a lot going on. So it's super important that we get this right, isn't it?
Yeah, I think part of the importance of the audit more generally, Rob, is that the audit gives users of the accounts that comfort blanket that these reported results have been reviewed independently and that we can rely upon these numbers. Part of the issue, I guess, that the profession has been facing is that in recent years, unfortunately, there's been a number of audit scandals where, in actual fact, the numbers couldn't be relied upon. And I think that has meant that more generally, in some quarters, audits can be looked on quite cynically. Is this really doing what it's supposed to? Is this really giving us the comfort that we want? And I think, at the global level, at those huge companies, the listed businesses, they're very complex businesses to understand and to be fair, even to audit. Our bread and butter, the local privately owned businesses in South Yorkshire, North Derbyshire, from an audit perspective, understanding those businesses and giving assurance over them, that's a different order of magnitude from those listed businesses. And I genuinely believe that an audit opinion from Shorts is something worth having if you're in that marketplace.
Yeah. And Howard, let's talk about some of these changes. As Andy mentioned, audit is under a huge amount of scrutiny. It's got a bad press, there's no doubt. And the Big Four are as culpable as anybody in this. As Andy said, they're dealing with very complex audits, but still it would be the basics that they would need to get right. And some big firms now are divesting themselves and splitting up the audit and the consulting. And then let's think about the huge impact of technology and the change in audit tech. So talk to us from your perspective, some of the changes in the audit landscape over recent years.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So yeah, we were obviously very aware as auditors that there have been some disappointing audit failures that Andy's already referred to. A lot of the big publicised ones are from the bigger accountancy firms, the top 10 firms. And as a result of that, what happens is, the audit regulators, the institute, the standard setters say, oh, well, if audits aren't working properly, so we need to tighten up the rules. We need to make the auditors do more tests and checks. We need to make it a more rigorous approach. And that, although, those changes are targeted at these big audits, big listed company audits, unfortunately, in many ways, that tightening up on that extra work filters down to all audits, because at the end of the day, an audit is an audit. And that means that the work we have to do on our SME audits, which is largely what we do here at Shorts, the work we have to do is affected, and we have to go through the same additional procedures, additional work, when actually you could argue that why should we be having to do the extra work for our clients, and that has an impact on audit fees, etc., and the amount of time we have to spend, when actually the work we were doing and the firms that in the smaller firms in the UK, we were doing a perfectly proper job in the first place. But the way to tackle that, we don't just do an audit as a tick box exercise. We think about the audits, what the audit risks are, or we focus our work on those areas. So we have to try and deal with these additional rules, but apply them in a sort of proportionate way to what our clients want to do. So yeah, the audit rules are getting more tricky, they're getting more onerous, and our job is to manage that extra workload and actually sort of turn it to our advantage, really, and sort of appropriately implement those with our clients.
And Andy, as Howard's explaining there is a cascade down from what's happening at government level, regulatory level, the changes in standards, the increased rigor that is happening in audits these days. That does filter down to firms like you dealing with your SME clients. Talk to us from your perspective about the changes in the audit landscape.
Well, I think Howard was really right in what he said, Rob, which is that as the rules and regulations are becoming ever more prescriptive, the risk I feel is that you end up really with a large number of boxes that need to be ticked rather than team members, the staff understanding what it is that they're actually trying to do.
Yeah.
And the fundamentals of what an audit is there to do and how you should approach it, they haven't changed since I was in training and for many years before. It's about understanding a client's business, understanding from an audit perspective, where do we think the risk areas are, and focusing your work on those risk areas. And when the rules become too prescriptive and there's too many detailed points that you need to just ensure you've done, I think a lot of firms, a lot of the team, they can lose sight of actually what they're trying to do. Coupled against that, the other issue is that lots of times teams are under too much pressure. They haven't got enough time to understand the client, to think properly, to really focus on the right areas. And as a consequence, you get an audit that is superficially touches the surface, that nominally has ticked all the boxes, but when you get down into it, they haven't really addressed the key issues. So when you give your team time, when you let them think, that's when you get a better audit. That's when you get better focus on the key areas. That's one of the key things we like to do at Shorts.
Yeah. And you speak in there about the challenges to the auditors themselves as a result of these changes, and we will talk more about time in this interview. Howard, would you add anything to that about the challenges that auditors are facing themselves?
Yeah, well, one thought I did have as Andy was speaking then was that that we have a bit, because we're an independent firm. Me and Andy are both, we're both actually trained at a Big Four firm, so we've been in that environment. We, as an independent firm, we have a bit more freedom perhaps to be able to conduct our audit in the way that we think is best for that client.
Yes.
Now, we're not cutting corners, we're not missing out steps that are mandatory that have to be done. But for example, one of the Big Four firms, over the last few years with COVID, they were dictated to from their London office or maybe their Dallas office or wherever their headquarters is, that they had to do a huge amount of work on the going concern aspect of the audit, whatever the audit was. Whereas we're able to look at our specific clients, work out, all right, going concern is a more enhanced risk in the last couple of years. But for some of our clients, it isn't really a risk, even with COVID, because maybe they've got huge amounts of money in the bank that could tide them over for a couple of years anyway, even if performance of the company drops. So we're able to tailor our work and do something and take a bit more of a view and do appropriate work, rather than do what head office tells you have to do on every audit. And I think that's an advantage that we have as an independent firm here at Shorts. And again, it's conducting your audit appropriate to your client, and not just ticking boxes and not just wasting time on stuff that really isn't necessary. And
that's the point, Andy, isn't it? Shorts are very client focused, and we talk about the challenges to auditors and in the profession generally, but the business owners themselves are recalibrating their lives. We hear about the Great Resignation. They're reassessing the advisors that speak into their business. They're looking to firms that have the expertise and can navigate the murky waters of change. Talk to us from your perspective about some of the challenges that business owners face with the audit and why they might be looking for a change.
I think what's happened over recent years, Rob, is that you talk about a great resignation. I think there's been a great realization, actually, which is that a number of firms locally that we've won from the top 10 have talked about the issues that they faced in terms of ever increasing fees, large change within the team that's delivering the work to them, and actually a feeling that we're not really getting either the detailed questions that we thought, the challenge that we're expecting, or indeed the service that we believe the fee we're paying actually justifies. And from us at Shorts, what we are really focused on is understanding the clients, spending time understanding what makes them tick and where they have issues with the business, tailoring the audit appropriately, actually giving them a team that doesn't change regularly, so they can form some relationships and understand the business properly. And because that team don't have 5 or 6 audits to balance, we stick to timetable. We get things done when we've said. We're able to be flexible and work with the client. And I think that's a key thing. To get the right audit outcome, it's about working together with your client. Yes, you need to challenge them, but it's not an adversarial relationship. And it's not, this is how we do things, take it or leave it. We need to work together. There's a large number of privately owned businesses locally of significant scale who are with the big 10 firms who really, that message really resonates with.
And Howard, we know, if anything, from COVID, that one size doesn't fit all. One size fits one client. And Andy talked there about the tailoring. You have had a lot of businesses come to you from the bigger firms that have lost that relationship. They've lost that intimacy with their advisors, and they're facing challenges themselves that they need a proper trusted advisor to guide them through.
Absolutely. And that, to be honest, that's the key thing about our working with our clients. We like that. The best thing about my job, the reason I like doing what I do, is that I get to know my clients. I have clients in all different sectors, all different shapes and sizes. No 2 days are the same, because I get to build a really good relationship with my clients. They know they can pick up the phone to me whatever time during the year. It's not just a year-end compliance process that they have to do that begrudgingly they pay a fee for. And I think some of the clients that have joined us from the larger firms have found it really refreshing that they actually, it's not just an audit, it's more than that. And we do become a proper trusted advisor. Obviously, we have to navigate independence issues and as auditor, you need to keep it, manage any conflicts of interest that you might have. But there's well-trodden paths to do that, and we do that, and indeed occasionally have to turn aspects of work away. But generally speaking, our audit clients and our clients generally at Shorts, they get to know us, they get to know the key members of the team. They like working with us. We work in partnership with them, to solve problems. We're not adversarial, but at the same time, in an audit, we give them a rigorous challenge, but we do it in a helpful partnership sort of way. And I think, compared to some of the service levels that and massively increasing fees that the big firms have been putting out there in the last couple of years in particular, I think they think, well, actually, firms like Shorts can do just as good a job. They have the technical expertise, and actually the relationship's better, and we feel more valued and we feel more important as being a client of a firm like Shorts.
And Andy, we can't deny that in the accounting space, there's been an increased devaluing of the audit. There's downward pressure on compliance fees. There's evaporation of those audit margins that we used to have. So what we need now is an audit plus, so that added value, whatever that represents, because audits in and of themselves, they're historical, they're not particularly useful to firms. What are some of the areas of concerns you have about where audit might be lacking?
Well, it's interesting what you're saying about audit fees, Rob, because actually a large number of the clients we are talking to are facing huge fee increases because we talked about the changes that have come through in the auditing standards. That's requiring a lot more work to be done, and therefore a large number of clients are facing actually, huge, really significant increases, and indeed they're facing increased fees yet poorer service.
Yes.
And what we find is that in many instances, we are able to talk with the client, talk about this, the proposition in terms of quality, in terms of the service we can give them, and actually combine that with a fee which is a reasonable, good fee for ourselves. In many instances, that's actually significantly less than they've been paying to a top 10 firm. And I think one of the things that resonates with most, if not all, of the opportunities we talk to, one of the things that most clients reference is, I never get to see my partner. I never get to see the audit partner. In some instances, I don't know who they are, even though they've signed the audit report. But if I see them, it's a fleeting, like we're passing in the night. The Shorts audit approach is completely different. If I might be as bold as to say, but it's just common sense, which is that our audits are truly partner-led. All the audit partners, Howard, myself, are intrinsically involved in the audit from planning to completion. And what that means is the client, from a client perspective, they are seeing the audit partner, throughout the process. We're both individuals with over 25 years worth of experience in the business. And that means we have a wealth of knowledge about other areas we might be able to help them with. But it also means the audit's focused. It's really focused on what matters, and that refreshing change, that from our perspective, well, that's how it should always be, isn't it? Is refreshing for a lot of clients that join Shorts.
Yeah, and Howard, when you're looking at how much business is coming to you from other firms, from the Big 10, the Big 4 firms, from other businesses. It's pleasing for Shorts. When we look at why people switch advisors, it's generally 3 reasons. It's a price issue, it's a service issue, or it's a relationship issue. And Andy spoke there about how close you get to your clients, and it's this that SMEs are looking for that they're not getting from the bigger firms. Yes, they're getting the big fees, but they're not getting the intimacy and the closeness, the visibility, the access to their advisors that they need to, and that's creating a shift.
Yeah, and that's definitely, as I said earlier, I really enjoy the aspects of my job, which is that I get to know lots of different people in lots of different companies in lots of different sectors, and I encourage them. If I get a new client, I'll say to them on a few occasions in the early stages, look, don't be afraid to pick up the phone to me. I'd like you to pick up the phone to me, not just for an audit, not just as the year end's coming around. During the year, if something funny lands on your desk, that you don't know what ring me. Don't ring, and I'm not saying ring my manager or ring my senior manager, or ring me or drop me a line, or we'll meet up for a coffee or whatever. And again, some clients I do meet up with them, every few months just to see how they're getting on, because I'm genuinely interested, because it's that's an interesting part of the job. So and I think the clients who do that are the clients who get the most out of us as a firm. If we build a relationship, we speak to them every now and again throughout the year, every few months, whatever, we get to know each other. They get to know what other services Shorts has to offer. They can use us as a sounding board. They can bounce ideas off us, and all that stuff. I'm sure is stuff that they haven't got. Is certainly to the same degree when they've been these massive firms, and that's because the massive firms aren't built up to work like that. They are, they have an audit department, they have a tax department, they have a whatever department. Well, I'm an auditor, but I'm also an accountant. I'm also a chartered tax advisor. I've also got 25 years of general business knowledge that I built up from working with clients, thousands of clients over the years. I can bring something to their business, and I'm happy to have those chats and give that insight and as I say, sort of help them out as much as I can. When we do the audit, we need to be independent and still do everything properly, and we can still do that within that sort of way of working.
Mm-hmm. And Andy, part of the culture at Shorts is the curiosity piece, the education piece that Howard was mentioning there. You are hungry to know more about your clients, and equally hungry to educate them on the things that they need to know about the many additional services you can offer them beyond the audit. And that's very, very important as clients seek to get the right advice to navigate these complex times. Talk to us about the audit promise that Shorts have brought in, Andy, because that's something of a game changer, isn't it?
Yeah, just cycling back, Rob. We were talking about why clients move, and we referenced price, service, and relationship. One of the things that's become apparent when we've looked at the 100 or so clients that have come to Shorts over the last 3 years or so from an audit perspective is that actually for about 89% of them, really the issue is service. Because if your service is of a high enough quality, you don't mind how much it's costing because it's value for money. And if you've got, it's very difficult to have a really good service if you haven't got a strong relationship. So actually, when you actually really look at it, most people, we reckon about 89% of opportunities that join Shorts, they quote service as being the reason that they move.
Interesting. Yeah. Which shows how comparable you are with the big firms on the rigor and quality of your audit services. Yeah.
Well, I think that comes from a culture, Rob. It's about the culture that comes from the top, from the audit partners, in our audit relationships. Service and servicing our clients well is fundamental. Ensuring our teams have the time to give clients the service that they really want. That's a key focus area for us.
And this gets wrapped up in the audit promise, doesn't it?
And it gets wrapped up in the audit promise. Yes, the audit promise is a simple way in which we've tried to define the key aspects of a Shorts audit proposition, and we've talked about those through our discussions today. Being partner-led, being risk-focused, ensuring that we work in partnership with our clients, focusing on the key areas of risk, working within an appropriate timetable, getting things done when we've said so. It just captures, from our perspective, what makes a Shorts audit a Shorts audit.
And Andy, we're talking here about service levels, expectations, almost a charter or a code of how Shorts will deliver the audit, because clients want clear promises that are delivered on and they get what they are promised. And this is part of the audit promise at Shorts, isn't it?
Yeah, it's almost like a guarantee, Rob, between us and a prospective client, or indeed our clients, which is that here's how we're going to approach your audit. We're not going to talk to you about the 50 audit standards that we need to follow, important, of course, though they are. What's the core offering that we're going to present to you? Let's present it to you in a really nice, simple to understand way that tries to cut through the jargon and talk things through at a level that resonates with you, that you can understand.
Yeah. And Howard, you're an audit partner of many years standing. What excites you most about the Shorts audit promise?
What excites me about it, I suppose, it's that we've actually pulled together in as Andy said, in a sort of in a all right, it's a nice sort of way of framing what we do, that we can communicate to clients in a nice little package. But at the end of the day, it covers all the aspects of a sensible audit, working together with your clients, giving them what they want, having that relationship with them, and reassuring them that we've thought about, we don't just go and do an audit, we think about it. We've thought about our audit approach. We've educated our team. We've got really good people here at Shorts in all departments. And our auditors, they don't want to waste their time doing parts of an audit that aren't really necessary or aren't appropriate. They want to understand the clients too, and do a good job for them, and take pride in their work. And I think all that's wrapped up in the Audit Promise. We've been doing good audits, I like to think, for years and years. But we were refocusing, reviewing what we were doing, and educating our staff, and working as a team to work out the best approach in today's climate and today's environment, and neatly package that up under the Shorts Audit Promise.
Yeah. And Howard, continuing with you, we've talked a lot about why businesses would move from a big four to a smaller audit firm. And you've spoken a lot about, it's not just the service, it's not just the relationship, but we hear about client experience, which is how they feel about the service emotionally, and how intimate and how close they feel to you as trusted advisors. And Shorts compare really well there. Talk to us about some of the key differences, how Shorts differs to the other auditors in your space.
So I think I'd like to think if you spoke to my clients, certainly clients who I've been acting for a few years, they would say, well, actually, the audit used to be a bit of a dull, compliance-based, thing I had to pay for begrudgingly. Actually, it doesn't have to be like that. And I think, we have good relationships with the owners of our clients. We have great relationships with the finance directors of our clients. All the stuff we've already talked about keeping in touch without you and developing that relationship, and then being able to pick up the phone to call us. That's something that we offer, and I know that some of our competitors aren't as good as we are at that. A part of that's because, as Andy mentioned earlier, we've got time. We build in time to our work planners, into our diaries, that means we can spend a bit of time with our clients. We can in our audit teams, they're not hugely under pressure. They're not working stupid long overtime hours. They're not sending the clients an email with loads of queries on at 9 o'clock at night on a Wednesday because they're having to work so hard to get all their work done. We have a no overtime policy for our staff, which is difficult to achieve, but our staff don't do that much overtime at all, and that's deliberate. And that's because we give them enough time to do a proper job, and not rush things, and be able to step back and be able to talk to our clients in that sort of way. And I think that does distinguish us from our local competition, that we're not rushing around at last minute deadlines, under pressure. We deliberately allocate enough time to our audit work so that the job gets done properly, and our clients appreciate that. And I think that's a key differentiator for us.
And Andy, you're very proud of the culture you have at Shorts with the zero overtime and giving people back their lives so that they can do better quality work. We know how busy and overloaded professionals are these days, but you give them the time, the space, the extra capacity to do a thorough job. And that's part of the differentiator for Shorts.
Yeah, I think our staff, particularly those who've maybe joined from other firms, they talk about the pride they have in having the time to do a good job, and not be having to balance multiple demands, and not being having to let a client down by saying, sorry, I can't come out today because I've got something else to be done. And so it just seems to me, Rob, to be pretty simple. If you have staff who have pride in their work because they feel that they've got the opportunity and the time to really devote to do a good job, you get a better service. One of the things that we will always say with prospective new clients of Shorts, when we give you an audit quote, we have already planned in our staff planner all the staff that are required at the right times that you've told us about to do this job. We know our commitment to you is if you accept our proposal, the right staff at the right levels at the right time, that's already booked in. Now we can do that because we build 15 to 20% capacity into our staff planner every single year. It helps ensure we don't have the overtime issues that we've been talking about. And of course, we're growing every year, and therefore we know that we're going to have new opportunities coming along. Unfortunately, that isn't the case with a lot of our competition, who in many instances win the work and then subsequently work out afterwards how they're going to fit it in. And Howard and I are both of a belief that's just the right way to do things. And if you set the right culture at the top, you know what your principles are, you don't deviate from those, more often than not that you get the result that you're looking for, which is great service for clients, happy staff who want to stay and retain and feel developed. And yeah, it's a simple equation and it works.
And Howard, let's finish on client service. And Andy was speaking there about building some redundancy and extra capacity into the audit. It's not just to deliver a better quality audit, but there are conversations that trusted advisors need to be having with clients about what the audit means, the stories behind the numbers and the recommendations for business strategy and insights and business decisions to help the business not just look at what's happened, but what is coming up and what they need to do. That's a key part of the service at Shorts, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think we bringing together a few things we've already spoken about. The fact that the partner, as me and Andy as audit partners, every audit we will attend an audit planning meeting with our client, and we'll ask. We don't just want to speak to the accountant; we want to speak to the business owner, the family who own it, or the finance director, or all of those, and we have a good catch-up chat as to what's going on. And more importantly, once we finish the audit, every single one, we will sit down, even if the client doesn't really want to have it. We'll say, no, it's important that we do this. So we sit down and we not only talk about any audit issues that arise, we turn the pages on the numbers on the accounts, and we talk to them about why has it been a better year, why has your turnover gone up, why has your margin gone down, and what's happened. The year end was several months ago. What's happening now? Where are you going? What are the And so we have those discussions. We use the audited accounts as a sort of as a document to generate and stimulate a conversation with our clients. And then that's where it helps us understand our client even better, and we can use our experience to help them make the decisions and inform their strategy about how their business is going to go forward over the next next few months and years. And that together with and then please keep in touch throughout the year. We'll meet up every now and again for a coffee or a phone call or whatever. That's all part of the whole sort of concept that we've been talking about for the last half an hour of working with our clients in partnership and letting them get an awful lot more out of the audit process than just having my signature on a page or one of the pages of the accounts at the end of the day. We do that. We do that very well, but there's so much more that can come out of the audit, and that's the stuff that excites us and that makes our jobs exciting and interesting. And that together with building relationships with our clients and getting on well with them, that's all how it works, and it works really well.
You made a really good point there, Howard. Just to finish on, your client is not the business necessarily. It's not the limited company. There are multiple stakeholders now in businesses, and you need to be having conversations with a number of them. So you make the client people focused rather than just business focused, and that allows you to have higher quality conversations which lead to higher quality outcomes. And that's not something your competition does. So that is a real differentiator. Thank you for that. And Andy, final thoughts on you, why the Shorts proposition in audit just delivers a great client experience and excellent service.
We're focused on it from the top to the bottom of the organisation, Rob. One of the beauties about a firm of short size is that we have the flexibility that the larger firms don't have. Clients find themselves being audited and having relationships with business owners in our own right who understand that, you know, the pressures and strains that they themselves are facing. We have an 100% focus on ensuring we do a quality job at a quality price, at a real quality service. I find in the marketplace that resonates with a large number of business owners.
And as Muhammad Ali, the famous boxer, said, it ain't bragging if you've done it. And a lot of firms make the promise of a quality service and a quality experience, but they don't have the culture or the capability to deliver on that. But Shorts actually do it. And that's why it makes it such a differentiated proposition. Gentlemen, thank you so much for talking about audit at Shorts today. So many areas that we covered. Are there any final thoughts that you have? Anything that we didn't mention that is crucial for the audience to hear or watch here?
I'd say, you know, we've got a great team here. We like what we do. We like developing relationships with clients, and if that's something, some of the things you've been listening to over the last half an hour, if some of those things are missing from your current advisor, you know, give us a call. We're always very happy to have a chat. You know, see if we get on, understand a bit about your business and take things from there. Yeah. Always happy to do that, Rob.
And there's always something better or different out there if businesses and people can lift their heads up from what they're doing and get away from the minutiae of their day to see that there are better possibilities. And Andy, I know you're super proud of what you're creating there at Shorts, and you've got a very competitive offering in the marketplace in the area of audit.
Thank you, Rob. I think the simple message is with Shorts, what you see is what you get, you know, and what we tell you during the tender process and what a client is going to experience, it will be exactly as we've said. If there are people watching who are not currently clients of Shorts, we invite them to give us a call. We'd absolutely be delighted to speak with you.
Yeah, well, that's been world-class, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your passion and your insights today. That's been excellent.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.